Hi there, it's Richard Little from Your Land Partner. This is the video 8 in our initial assessment series. So we've already covered land registry, flood risk, tree preservation orders, access, designation, market history and planning history. So the last one is what we term local restrictions. So this is largely physical, physical things, physical stuff that may be on the site, adjacent to the site, to the front, to the back, to the sides, anywhere locally that may have an impact, may have an effect in some way or other. So some examples of that could be simple ones: overhead cables, which could be power lines, they could be telephone lines, bus stops outside, phone boxes, we still get them occasionally, double yellow lines, so parking restrictions, not just double yellow lines but parking restrictions, red lines in some areas, a bit more of an impact there, parking, a lay-by, that sort of stuff. That's sort of the scene things, the topography of the site, the up and down, if you like. Is it steep going one way? Is it fairly flat? Is it go side to side? We've already talked about trees and the tree preservation orders, but what else is there on there? So physical stuff like, is it a tip? Does it look like loads of stuff's been dumped there, for instance? So initially, all this initial assessment stuff is done from the desktop, but the local restrictions, a bit more limited to what you can pick up sometimes, although with Google Street View and Google Earth, you can pick up some things, but most of the local restrictions is something that we look at when we actually, or somebody makes a site visit, takes photos, etc., or a video, something like that. So most of it is seen. A lot of the unseen stuff, it gets covered a little bit later on. So some of the unseen restrictions on a site, underground services, so gas mains. If you've got a high pressure gas main going across your site, for instance, it takes a lot of meters each side of the line of that main where you can't really do very much at all. So underground services, water, are there any sewage coming across there? Or even underground trains. So obviously, if we're in certain parts of the country, there could be some underground trains. Well, we'll find that a little bit later on, generally. So most of the local restrictions are what are actually visible. What you should also bear in mind, as I say, it's not what's just on the site or on the building that you're looking at, that you're considering. It's actually what's adjacent. So it's not just the physical things. It's the desirability here. What do the neighbours do? What is next door? Is it a noisy workshop? Is it smelly? What are they doing? Is there a travellers camp? Next door, or a field but one away, or whatever. These are all potential restrictions on not necessarily whether you can actually get planning consent for whatever it is you want, but actually, is it going to be desirable? Is it going to impact on perhaps what the end values and the strength of sales are likely to be, or even the strengths of renting? So local restrictions. So there's many things other than the examples that I've given, but it's pretty much what can we see and what impact may that have? So yes, as I said. Could it be a planning restriction? Yeah, potentially. But most local restrictions, we can get over them. So even bus stops, phone box, that sort of stuff, we can normally, through a lot of paperwork, sometimes get them moved. But another one that again you can get moved, which is actually worth mentioning, I suppose, is signage. So on verges or pavements, is there any mounted signs? And at what point, where are they? Are they big? Are they small? Are they low? Are they high? Etc. We sometimes cover a little bit of that in access, but actually, again, local restrictions. It's what is there? What's going to get in the way? So it's not just about whether you can physically see to get in and out. It's actually, what is it? You know, is there a great big advertising hoarding on the side of the building next door? You know, and which if you put it down, it might not be a restriction. It might be an opportunity, because you might be covering that one up, and you might get the opportunity to you know, do something very, very similar. So one that we see quite a lot of now is telephone masts. There's amount of sites that we come that have got a mast or something in the corner. That's a real opportunity and a restriction all in one go. So you know, we were looking at one last year where the existing building, which wasn't going to be, it was an industrial building, wasn't going to be converted in any way. It was going to be demolished, but on top of that was a mast. And so you then, once you've seen that, you then start looking at the leases, etc., that pertain to the masts. So there's all sorts of little things like that. So the local restrictions, pretty much, what can you see? You know, good, bad, indifferent, and also any signs of things that might be there that you can't actually see, like perhaps, you know, an inspection cover, a manhole cover, if you would be, that's visible, you know, or you know, a water cover, you know, any service covers or anything like that. So you know, and yeah, like I would say, it's what else is on, what's on the boundaries. So we've done trees and tree preservation, but is there a wall? What does it look like? You know, does it look unstable, etc.? So largely this stuff is when you get to site visit, or when somebody site visits for you. So this has been the last in a series of 8 on our initial assessment. So we say mostly a desk study. So if you haven't caught any of the others, then I would do so. Every one of the 8 is relevant and can be relevant. Very few of them are what we call red flags, so they're not game stoppers, but they can be game changers to an extent. And the early knowledge of this will enable you to either walk away or have a very different conversation with the landowners and or their agents. And what we're trying to do for everybody out there is find out what information you can as early as possible, with the purpose of finding a no. What is the no? If we get to a no, it's move on. If we get to a, oh, it's a maybe, not a no, then if we understand what we're doing, then actually that can be a massive, massive benefit for us, as I said before, in our negotiations, and but also potentially the way we structure deals. So this has been Richard Little from Your Land Partner, concluding the series of 8 in initial assessment. If you're following the 100 in 100, we're on nearly on 25 or 30 even. I don't know where we are, to be perfectly honest with you, but we're getting there. Every one of those videos has value. It's up to you whether you watch it or whether you don't. It really won't make that much difference to us, but it could make a massive difference to you. So Richard Little saying goodbye. See you again another day.